Who would have known that stepping into your feminine, hand in hand with your yoni, connecting to that feminine space of being and nurturing could have such an unimaginable, wonderful rippling effect? Who would have known? Find out right here, right now, with the absolute energy game changer, Jen, my dear, beautiful, gorgeous, energy lifting soul of a human, of a starseed. Just, you'll find out. Just listen. When you're talking about the feminine, that is just a complete, I suppose, way of healing our balanced, but when we're unbalanced and we're not focusing on, resting and less working and handing it over to whoever needs to work in the household, that's embracing our feminine.
Embracing our feminine.
Yeah.
And the world, I think, that many of us are living in is very polarized towards the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of us as starseeds are being called to, or forced, pushed so far into our feminine. I think that's why we have such a tough time being in our masculine and hustling and running and producing. And I think it's because we live in such a masculine world and somebody has to be the feminine in order to help us heal.
Yeah, totally. And you were saying that a minute ago that you have like a big urge to go out to the forest. When you're walking in nature and stuff, what does it give to you in terms of like recharging yourself?
Ooh, I love that question. It feels like food. It, I was thinking, so I've been sitting outside in the sun drinking my coffee every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting with my husband and we were trying to figure it out, like, why does this feel so good? And I was like, it's almost like when you take a drink of water and you're thirsty,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like you're taking it in a different way. It's like the sun hitting your skin. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a form of nourishment. And
Yeah.
there's definitely a component of grounding in there, right? You're pulling
Mm-hmm.
up all the negative energy from the earth and you're discharging excess energy that we've got built up. But I think that the incoming information from the sun is really nourishing too.
Yeah, totally. Especially
Yeah.
when we haven't had it for so long and the sun comes out and you're just like, oh my God, recharge me.
Yeah. Just give me all of it. Let me get my solar panels out.
Do you ever take off your shoes when you're walking in on the grass?
To do that. We've so here it's a whole lot different the ground than in Maine. In Maine, you could take off your shoes and go walking around outside, and the grass is soft and the earth is soft. But here in Wyoming, where we are, it's very
Hmm.
hard and pokey and dry. And so
Okay.
uh, we've got grounding shoes now. So
Oh,
they have like
wow.
little, yeah, like little rivets. And so you walk and the electricity gets pulled up through the rivet.
Stop it.
It's not as good as being barefoot, but
Yeah. It's
my
the
feet aren't
next best
bleeding.
thing.
So
Yes. You're not dragging your feet through thorns.
that's right. That's right. I don't have to pull out splinters. I don't have to bandage any cuts on my feet, and I can wear
Yeah.
shoes at the same time. But
Amazing.
I love being barefoot.
Wow. And tell me more about these earthing shoes.
Oh. So there are I've noticed there's a few different companies that are like saying that they have earthing
Yeah.
shoes, but they're calling earthing different things. I think it's one
Okay.
of those concepts that's still being explored because there's some
Hmm.
companies that have earthing shoes and they're just like barefoot shoes. They're just supposed to
Okay.
help your feet spread out
Oh,
so you
yeah.
can walk
Hmm.
properly,
Hmm.
instead of having them all cornered in tight little
Crunched in.
toes and like so the shoes are made wide so the toes could
Yeah.
spread in the
Yeah.
metatarsal bones. But I think the genuine earthing shoes for the purpose of what we're talking about, they have like wires and like metal
Mm-hmm.
embedded into the rubber of the sole. So
Hmm.
that way they can conduct and pull up electricity. Most, excuse me, let me find my words. Most shoe soles
Hmm.
are made of rubber, and so they're
Hmm.
insulating. And so you don't
Hmm.
get any electricity from the earth when you're walking,
Hmm.
but our bodies still get the electricity from like our man-made electrical currents coming up from the
Yeah.
top. We just, when we have shoes on, we don't have a way to discharge it.
Hmm. Yeah. That's so interesting. It's curious. And the fact, like you said, like shoes are made of rubber these days. Not like I suppose leather might have allowed some of that electricity in years and years ago, but
Mhm.
the rubber doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's related to the amount of dis-ease that we are experiencing in a lot of our cultures.
Hmm.
We have so much energy coming in, and we don't have
Hmm.
any way to discharge it or pull up the nourishing energy from the earth. It's all
Hmm.
this man-made artificial current coming down.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And my actually speaking of earthing and grounding, my mom has one of those earthing mats.
Mm.
And because,
Mhm.
obviously in the winter when it's so cold and rainy, you can't really get outside. And like it's lashing rain in Ireland the whole time, so nobody's gonna walk on the grass either.
Right. It's not a
Or-
good time.
So she got these earthing mats and she sleeps with it on the end of her bed and she seems to think that it's like giving her benefits. So that's like another way, I suppose, of getting into nature if you can't.
Yeah, you could still get some of the grounding energy, even if you're not.
Hmm.
I love, sometimes technology is so cool.
Hmm. Yeah.
We can still have our Wi-Fi and grounding at the same time. How amazing is that?
Yeah. And to know what I also loved as well, if we can't get outside, I remember when you were doing my Akashic journey, and one of the recommendations in your journey was to imagine just being connected to the earth because we're energetic beings, we can still get that energetic benefit from it. And I've never forgotten it. And I remember exactly how you taught me how to do it, and I've stuck with it ever since.
Still practice. Oh, I'm so glad. After our session, I was so excited about that. I went downstairs and I told Aaron, my husband, and I was like, okay, you have devices that can read our electricity. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, go get it. We're going to play. And he's like, it's not going to work. I was, I was like, well, I don't know, maybe it will.
We're still trying.
I don't know. And so I was holding the probe in my hands, and it reads electricity, and it goes up for ungrounded, and it gets closer to zero the more grounded you get. And I was like, okay, this is my natural, standing barefoot on the kitchen floor. And then I was like, okay, give me just a minute. I'm going to start doing the grounding exercise that Spirit gave us. And I
Yeah.
started doing it, and I looked at him like a minute later, and he's like, oh my God, it's working. It's working. You're changing it. I can't believe this. This is crazy. And he could actually see it on his electrical meter.
Wow. Yes, that's
Yeah.
lovely. I love that. And did he try it then?
Yeah, yeah. So now he's aware, like, okay, grounding is real. This is
Mm.
cool. You can do it with your mind. We were able to see on a machine how powerful the mind was, right? With just setting this intention of, I'm going to ground my energy. And we could see it going down, 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 down on the electrical meter.
Wow, I love that. I love that. That let you can see that. You can just see that on technology. So it's
So
just literally
visible.
proven like the power of our mind and combining with our energy. There it is
Yeah,
right there. Like that's not lying.
it's not made up. It's real.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
cool.
It really is. So
Can
cool.
you tell when you need to get grounded?
Yes. I feel really heavy, like
Mm,
heavy, kind of agitated, a little bit
yeah.
claustrophobic, and I just need to just cleanse and
Mhm.
decharge and just release and let go of like just stagnancy.
That's a really eloquent way to put it. I feel that too. It is just like I need to go get plugged in so I can like run my cleaning system.
Yeah. And I find as well, I remember Holly was saying she gave us a lovely exercise as well in the shower. we're in the shower and we're like, that's another way of cleansing our energy is just imagining that the water is just pouring down through our energetic body and clearing all the debris down the drain. I love
Oh,
that one.
water. I love
Yeah.
water. So
Yes, actually, you're
nourishing.
great at getting messages through water, aren't you?
I have such a thing with water. Oh, excuse me just for a moment. Okay.
Don't worry.
We've got some funny things going on with the electrical and the heat in our house. And some of the neighbors have crazy things with their plumbing right now. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on astrologically, but there is like some big energies moving around here. Did I did I hear that you guys are having flooding in Spain?
Oh, that's another thing with water. Yes, that's actually it was big, huge flash floods happened today or yesterday last week. So a week ago. It wasn't very well predicted on the weather forecast. So there are different stories going around. But what happened was, in a nutshell, that different storms gathered together and created a huge storm that created massive rainfall. And I don't think that the government, so Spain is divided into different governments and different provinces, and then it has a big government, probably like America. And they didn't alert people in time. Apparently there was an alert, but some people didn't listen to the alert, and then the overall alert wasn't delivered on time. And then by the time the alert did go off, the floods had like reached the towns, and a lot of
Oh,
people died, like more than 200 people died, and they're still searching for people.
wow.
Um, yes, so been a bit of a shock. Um, but a nice healing story from that is that so many volunteers, like tens of thousands of volunteers, came together to help out with their shovels and their brushes and their bottles of water. And they were just like going to the villages to help out because the government didn't respond in
Yeah,
time. And it
yeah.
took them like a few days. And it even gets me emotional thinking like how much community spirit there was. And everybody was just going to help regardless of whether the government was sending people or not.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, isn't it? The way
Yeah.
people come together when we need to,
Yeah.
and how much we can accomplish without even
Yeah.
really thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, everybody just mobilized and came together and started assisting each other.
Yeah. It
Ooh,
was
it gives me
lovely.
goosebumps. Think about the
Yeah, me
community.
too. It really was, and it gives us so much power, like, power to the people and the usual. But it really does. When we come together and work together and like help each other out, we don't need to rely. Well, obviously we need to rely on people who have resources and, the people who can obviously with tractors and everything we need that, but we can make massive movements with working together.
When we work
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
it's so amazing. Have you been having any crazy dreams about water?
Recently, I haven't been having any crazy dreams about water, but my dreams have been coming through very clearly,
Oh,
like massive clarity and dreams, but they're not really. One dream, and one message I got in a dream recently was like, you have to eat. You have to replenish your body because I kind of go through phases of fasting and I just can't do it lately. But I think it's because my body is just like, no, it's not the time. And that
yeah.
came through in a dream recently.
It's funny how we get these messages from ourselves and we're so unaware of this consciously. Like
Yeah,
it takes a while
totally.
to kick in, or it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, I need to eat.
Yeah, you need to put that food in your mouth, not leave it in the
Right,
fridge.
right. You're doing a lot of work, Sarah.
What about your dreams?
Oh my gosh. They've been all about water lately,
Well,
actually, and flooding
really?
every night, every single night. It's all about water, all of my dreams. And I'm remembering them vividly, like you are. But it's so interesting, even though there's like flooding and destruction, and I'm in this destruction in the dreams as a human, I'm noticing that I'm feeling calm
Hmm.
and also curious. Something I became aware of lately was in my dream, the water itself was where? The water itself was full of emotion, and that these waves are waves of emotion that are like
Mm-hmm.
coming up, and the water is like an entity that is like part of
Mm-hmm.
the earth. It's,
Wow.
yeah, it's really interesting. It becomes like a whole separate character, a whole
Mm-hmm.
separate person, this water.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And because water is like the oldest entity that has ever been on this earth.
Right?
Yeah. So there's so many messages I can imagine that you might be getting through water in your dreams.
Have you ever played around with hydroglyphs?
No.
Okay, there's this lady, her name's Veda Austin, and she
Yeah.
freezes water in little petri dishes, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes pictures.
Is she from New Zealand?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, I know her. I know her.
Yeah, this lady. I've started doing playing with it at home, and it's been so much fun, Sarah. I mean, a little petri
Hmm.
dish is like, 20 cents. It's not,
Yeah.
they're not, and you just put it in the freezer, and then when the
Yeah.
water's mostly frozen, not totally frozen,
Hmm.
mostly frozen, you pull it out, you pour the excess water off, and then you look at the design in the ice.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I've been able to get the water to make all kinds of different pictures for me, and I want to start making like a
Oh, amazing.
book of all the pictures, right? This is what this one is. And
That would
I'm
be amazing.
currently thinking like, okay, I want to see the pictures of the frequencies from my tuning forks and see what they
Hmm.
do. They've been making some really interesting geometric structures in the
Hmm.
water when I freeze it.
Oh, cool. And have you been setting an intention or anything before you set any of them in the freezer?
Yeah, I've been telling the water, show me what this looks like to you. And then I'll
Hmm.
like ding my fork over it for like 5 minutes. Like ding, ding, ding. And it looks a lot different than the untreated water. And the untreated water has like all these like it's still structured. It's got all these so we have good water here. It makes these fern lacy patterns,
Hmm.
and it changes it so it becomes from lacy ferns to like these really like immense geometric structures that look like waves.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's kind of like it looks healthy.
Yeah, it let's see. If the water is showing the shape of the
Hmm.
frequency that the tuning fork's putting out, I wonder what effect that shape would have on our own geometric structures.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because
Yes,
we're
that's
full
a
of
good question.
crystals, right? Like we're
Yeah.
full of crystals. Our whole body is like our blood is like a liquid crystal. The water that's inside of our bodies is crystalline.
Yeah. That's so cool. You have to keep me updated on that. And I can't wait to see some of those pictures. That's a really good
Oh,
idea.
if you make any, I would love to see yours.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into it. Never thought about that actually. It'd be cool.
Right, because you could like talk to water. If you could have a
Yeah.
conversation with it and ask it anything, the oldest being on the planet, what would you ask
Hmm.
it?
Yeah. Yes, that's such a good question.
How much would it know about humanity?
Hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
uh, it's interesting that you mention that you have been feeling like not really like wanting to eat, not really wanting to take in the extra energy, but your body's been like kind of like sending you signals. I went and picked up
Hmm.
my eldest daughter from school not yesterday, but I think the day before. I have a stomach
Hmm.
ache. It feels like I'm wearing a corset full of nails, Mom. It's like,
Oh.
okay. Yeah. So I asked, okay, first, have you pooped today? Right? Because that's usually like, that's why you get a stomach ache, because you need to poop. She's like, yeah, I did. It's fine. I was like, okay, what did you eat? She's like, I don't know. What did you eat? I don't know. Did you eat breakfast this morning? I guess not. And she hadn't had dinner the night before. And so, are you hungry? And she had no idea if she was hungry. She couldn't tell. It's,
Yeah.
so I
You
gave her
know
this
when you
big
go
plate of food.
past, you know when you
Yeah.
go past hunger and then it goes into like survival mode, and your body goes into like, I don't know what it's called, ketosis or something, and then it starts eating the food in your whole body. So she probably didn't realize she was hungry.
I had no idea. It's so funny because you'd think as an adult woman, like that we would know that feeling of being hungry because we've been in our bodies. Like I've had this body for 38 years. I
Yeah.
probably know how it works, but I still have times where I'm like, ah, what is that feeling? Jennifer, you're just hungry. Go have
Yeah.
a snack, girl.
You just need a glass of water.
You're right. Go eat some chicken.
Yeah. Are you ever drawn to certain foods? Does your body ever crave certain foods that, I don't know.
Oh. Oh, wow. Okay. That's been changing, Sarah. Has
Hmm.
I'm noticing that I'm craving more primal food, like more basic, whole, fresh living food. Like I really want like the whole apple instead
Hmm.
of like apple cake. And I
Hmm.
really want to have a steak instead of like lasagna, with all the
Hmm.
extra stuff. I'm like, oh, I want the steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be connected to my food. And that's a huge change because I love me some mashed potatoes, but I don't want that. I want a baked potato. I just want like a regular
Yeah.
potato. How
Hmm.
about you? Are you noticing any changes with your preferences?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I do get a very big craving every now and again for a good steak. Like my body just craves that meat. And I'm not sure if
Mm.
it's because it's like crying out for iron or something like that. But yeah, I definitely crave like wholesome food, and my body cries out for vegetables if I haven't had them for a while. It's like you need something living in your body because it's like it just doesn't function properly if I'm not eating properly.
Give me the green foods.
Yeah, a handful of spinach.
Yeah. Yeah, those minerals, they're so important. Sometimes I wonder if the foods that we are craving are actually requests for minerals from our bodies.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That makes sense if you think about it because, your body has its own mind and its own kind of intelligence. So when it needs something, it definitely craves it.
It's like, bring me down some more magnesium.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
magnesium, on the
asking,
other hand, when I'm craving chocolate, that's probably for the wrong reasons. The
mhm.
magnesium reasons, I mean the right reasons, but I mean the wrong thing.
You should have magnesium and chocolate. You can't go wrong.
I know. Both, yes.
Right. Have the Epsom in the bath with some chocolate.
Amazing.
I was asking Spirit about it the other day, and they they had this idea to offer that the minerals are what we use to recode our genes.
Hmm.
So the main minerals in our body are also what our DNA is made of, the actual building blocks
Hmm.
of it. And if we want to change and alter our DNA and make new codes to go with it, that we need
Hmm.
extra minerals to go along with that.
Wow. That's really insightful.
Isn't that a crazy idea? So, like, if you have genetic damage, say, like from childhood trauma or
Mm-hmm.
from the Wi Fi that's going on, and you're like wanting to repair it in your body, the
Hmm.
reason that you want more minerals and the reason you use the minerals up is repairing the DNA to
Hmm.
recode it. It's like you need more square red Legos to build your
Hmm.
little Lego set.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Really
Uh,
interesting. You
yeah.
gotta love when Spirit has good suggestions. Any more little tips?
Mm.
Mhm.
What kind of tips are you thinking about?
In
Oh,
terms
I have
of
a good
when
one.
yeah.
Okay. So lately I've been learning about sex as being a really important part of being feminine, being in our femininity, and how we
Mm-hmm.
can utilize sexual energy for healing in all the other areas of our body.
Mm-hmm.
So like we can pull up and have access to an unlimited amount of sacral
Mm-hmm.
energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Provided that we're grounded. We pull it up through our orange chakra, and then we could
Mm-hmm.
redistribute that energy to any other place in our body that we like.
Wow.
And we can do it consciously through like a sexual meditation. So like if you're
Mm-hmm.
just meditating, but you also have that emotion of sex and desire.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been using a yoni egg, a jade yoni egg, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
really helping me to be able to put my focus right in my womb, right in my sacral plexus, and then pull it up. And I've been feeling like I can adjust just about anything in my life this way.
Wow. How that's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a really fun practice,
Yeah.
but one that's been like wow, how can I share this with other women? Because I
Yeah.
feel like as a whole, the feminine has been repressed to a point that even us as like Americans, usually we're not having like nourishing sex or
Mm-hmm.
nourishing relations or a nourishing connection with our sacral energy center, like who we
Mm-hmm.
are in our life and our power as innate beings. But I think
Mm-hmm.
the energy of sex is that of creation. And so if you want to
Mm-hmm.
create a new change in your life, if you want to create a new kind of healing, it seems
Mm-hmm.
natural that you would go from the energy center that creation is its dominant frequency.
Yeah. Amazing. Also connected to water.
Right. And water is also connected to the
Yeah.
sacral energy center. It's so amazing.
Yes.
Color orange.
And you said you used your yoni to manifest different or to kind of focus on different areas of your life. How exactly did you do that? Do you just like meditate on it and then focus
Yeah.
on what you need to heal at the same time?
Yeah. Okay. So my technique is very amateur, I'm sure. And I would love to have tips from anybody who's more experienced. But I've been meditating with my yoni egg in, and then when I do this guided meditation, or when I'm just listening to the music and kind of like focusing on whatever it is that I want to do, I start thinking about it, and then I'm noticing that I'm also becoming more connected to my womb as a whole. And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm also utilizing and connecting with my sacral energy center at the same time. So as I move through it and I start thinking like, okay, and directing it with my mind, this is what I want it to do. This is how I want to feel. This is what I want to see in my physical world around me. As long as I'm having it connected to this sacral energy center, it's like a thread where I can say I'm going to pull up extra energy and I'm going to put it right here where I want it in my bank account.
Mhm.
I want to
Yeah.
take out this extra energy and I'm going to put it right here where I can see that I am changing physically, that my body is getting more energy, that it's releasing excess inflammation. Um,
Mhm.
and I've been able to see that come into fruition.
Mhm.
And because I'm using my yoni egg, I've been able to manifest also some really, really cool tricks. Like I can now have an orgasm just from like rocking my hips with my egg in.
Really?
Never been able to do that before. I never thought that was possible. I had no idea. But because I'm connected to my womb, it's like when I'm in that center, I can pull up
Mhm.
a lot of energy through there. And
Mhm.
I never, that was not part of my education as a female growing up.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know
Yeah.
any women around me who are feeling like that on the regular, but so I'm
Yeah.
thinking like we got to start telling other women about this.
I
They
think
should probably
so.
know that they can do that.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's coming from a space of creation, and we can harness and channel that energy into different places as well as feeling that our needs are met. Well, it's like
Yeah.
super powerful.
And it is really that deep feminine principle of magnetism that you're
Hmm.
able to pull in the abundance
Hmm.
and manifest things that you want. You don't have to go out there and do it. It's like
Yeah.
you can just sit back and feel it and immerse yourself in it, and then the masculine energies in your life will create it for you.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. You're just like sitting there in your feminine cocoon, embracing all this lovely energy. I love it.
Oh, it's not without challenge still.
Yeah, but I like how you're navigating it and exploring it and discovering it all by yourself without, you haven't learned it from anyone. It came from within you.
Yeah, it's been really cool. And I wonder, like, what else can come from that? Like, what kind of ideas can I come to fruition that I might be able to use to assist the other women
Yeah,
around me to
yeah,
help embrace their feminine?
yes. Well, if anybody's listening, get in contact with Jennifer because she's your girl. This could be the girl you've been waiting for your whole life to embrace your feminine spark.
I've had this idea that maybe I could start writing meditations that are meant to be uh, done sexually, like going through
Mhm.
that sacral energy center where you can pull up the power there and then direct it to other
Mhm.
places. I don't know how to do it yet, though. I think it'd be really cool
Yes.
to share.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're on the right path. You're on the right track. Yes. But if you think about it though, there's so much energy stored in there. And in order to release it and obviously use it and turn it into something beneficial in our life, it's like just so empowering.
You have to use it. I think
Hmm.
I think a lot of us women tend to hold our trauma in our
Hmm.
lower abdomen. And so,
Hmm.
right, it manifests as stagnant energy because we're hanging on to these emotions and we're hanging on to these old
Hmm.
hurts. And I think it
Yeah.
causes things like that's where we get the low libido. That's where we're going to get the endometriosis or the polyps. And I think we also see the gut problems there too.
Yeah. I
Because
was
that
just about to ask. Yeah.
Right, the gut problems because when you're not in your power and you're
Hmm.
powerless and you have weak boundaries, well, your gut's going to have weak boundaries too. And so
Yeah.
then you'll see the
Totally.
IBS and you'll see
Hmm.
like the colon issues, colon cancer, like what I had.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you navigate that? Because I remember you telling me that before, that you
Oh,
had it, but you never told me how you actually navigated it.
that was that was the biggest blessing of my entire life was being
Hmm.
diagnosed with colon cancer. I, of
Wow.
course, it didn't feel like it at the time. At the
Yeah.
time, I was like, my
Yeah.
world was
Yeah.
absolutely shattered.
Hmm.
It was exactly what I needed because I was in this career I, that was sucking me dry, that I knew I wasn't helping anybody and I wasn't my purpose. And I was kind of just withering. And I wanted to leave, but I was like, I can't, right? I can't. I've got
Because you
bills.
were
I
a
have
nurse, weren't you?
family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
nurse during the pandemic, and all these people needed my help. And who was going to pay our bills? Who was going to provide for us? Right? You hear all
Hmm.
these masculine ideas, all these masculine reasons why I couldn't go in and go nourish myself and take care of myself. But the truth of it was that because I was busy being in my masculine, there wasn't anybody in our family who was in their feminine aside from my husband. My husband had to be in his feminine because I was out being the man. Like,
Hmm.
so he
Yeah.
had to be at home. And man, he does not make a good woman. I've got to say, like, he was not happy with that arrangement. He was not satisfied or fulfilled, and neither was I. And so
Yeah.
when I got the cancer, I was like, okay, first of all, I fucking quit this dead ass job. I'm not killing myself for you people anymore. It's
Literally killing myself.
literally
Yeah.
killing myself. And I needed
Yeah.
that in order to leave my job. I needed to actually have a reason. But that
Hmm.
was a sufficient reason for me. Okay, I'm gonna come home. But once I did,
Hmm.
I noticed that everything in my life shifted. Everything shifted. All of a sudden, when I started nourishing myself, I noticed that the people around me got softer. And all of a sudden, my kids weren't fighting so much. And I was looking at my husband, and he was becoming this amazing dad. Like, he was like stepping up into it. And yeah, there was a transition with money, but it appeared. He went out and he manifested the money that we needed to
Yeah.
provide for me. And so the shift has been so great that even though I'm cancer free now,
Yeah.
um, that we are still like, we really like our style of living. I am home, but
Hmm.
because I'm home, it means that I'm able to nourish myself. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
also able to nourish my family.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
actually like, I hear a lot of people saying, like, oh, we can't do that in this day's world. We can't do that. But I think that's what we need is more
We
nourishment.
have to. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm noticing like it's the women who provide the nourishment.
Yeah.
They provide the
Hmm.
nourishment and then the men can go out and do things with it. But
Yeah.
when they're burnt out, they're just like slogging through life, right? And they have nobody behind them like, sending
Hmm.
up like, here you go. Here's your refuel.
Yeah.
Take a
Oh,
rest. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that a way forward of healing for our world really lies in embracing
Hmm.
the feminine, those aspects
Yeah.
of rest and nourishment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's giving me goosebumps. Because it's just like it really hits home and it resonates because when you come from a masculine, hard working and driven world, it's hard to go back into to try and go into your feminine and it is hard. But like you said,
Mhm.
unless an illness pulls you down, it's nearly impossible, but it's really necessary, especially for the people all around us, like what happened to you and that lovely rippling
Yeah.
effect.
It was incredible watching everything just like all of a sudden it morphed into everything I ever wanted in my entire world. And everything
Oh,
is just like,
yeah,
but it couldn't have happened. It couldn't have
yeah,
happened without bringing in that extra feminine aspect. And
yeah.
I still face a lot of issues. I still have feelings of unworthiness come up that I need to have a job to be worthy. I need to be producing to be worthy. I can't just let my
Mm-hmm.
husband provide for me. I'm just, like all these limiting beliefs
Mm-hmm.
that were given to me when I was
Mm-hmm.
little. They're still
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm actively working to like love myself through them, be like, okay, my worth is not in my doing.
Yeah.
My worth is not in my production, right? I'm not more worthy because I am at a factory putting out car parts. I'm not more worthy because I am, like there's a service being done. And just
Mm-hmm.
because it's not monetized, just because it's not something that's a commodity doesn't make it unworthy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I'm just
Absolutely
like,
amazing.
oh,
Yeah. That is how, what advice would you give people who are listening to try and step into their feminism, their feminine aspect more?
mm. Oh, that is such a fun question, Sarah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So here's the thing. When I started connecting with my feminine, I began noticing all the ways that I was being masculine. And I
Mm-hmm.
still do fall into my masculine. As soon as I'm stressed out, I'm like, okay, yep, I'm going to start controlling something. What are we doing? I'm going to
Yeah.
start thinking. I'm going to start coming from down here in my rooted, grounded chakras where I pull up energy and nourishment. And I'm going to come up here where I start
Yeah.
doing things and controlling things. I don't
Yeah.
want to live up here in my head. It is not a nice, fun place to be. I do
Yeah.
not feel like at the end of the day, after I've been in my head, I do not feel like I want to hang out with my kids. And I don't really
Mm-hmm.
want to feel like I want to go jump my husband's bones. I'm like, get out of my way. I need to be alone. there's, there's nothing left. Like this
Yeah.
is like, so I noticed that when I'm in my masculine, it's much more up in my head. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I'm planning, I'm controlling, I'm scheming. And when I'm in my feminine, it's me being present. It's me being just really focusing on feeling. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be right here, right now, and focus on what's in
Mm-hmm.
front of me. what
Mhm.
what most needs my attention right in front of me, which is not
Yeah.
planning for what we're going to do with our investments, and it's not planning for what's for dinner next week. That's important. Right? Like somebody's got to plan dinner.
Yeah.
But once I realized that that needs to be like this much of my energy, and
Mhm.
the majority of my energy needs to be in just being present in the moment and feeling. But it's
Mhm.
taken a long time to get my nervous system healed enough that I can just
Yeah.
be, because I was always seeking something, right? I'm
Yeah.
seeking the stimulation, I'm seeking the games, I'm seeking the things to do and the busyness. But
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
stuff, that's all masculine stuff.
Yeah. Totally.
That's
Totally. I totally get you
right.
there. And now with because there's so many things to do and so many stimulations, it's like we're conditioned to just look at our phone straight away or try and find something on TV to watch instead of just
Yeah.
like being bored.
Yeah. Right. You can't just sit with yourself. And
Yeah.
right. And then you'd have to face yourself. You'd have to face like
Hmm.
your thoughts, and you'd have to learn how to
Hmm.
navigate them. And you could
Hmm.
learn how to navigate your dreams and actually think intentionally. But when
Hmm.
we're just consuming passively
Hmm.
all the time, we don't
Hmm.
actually get to choose those things because our
Yeah.
subconscious does
Totally.
it for us. We're like, no, subconscious, you
Yeah.
do that. But
Yeah.
I actually have noticed that I prefer to be conscious. I'm like, my thought patterns are like, oh, subconscious. Thank you for showing me that I'm feeling unworthy. But I would like you to know that I am worthy, that we are worthy. We, our being is so much more important than our doing, subconscious.
Yeah.
And every time I do that, I notice that I get a little softer, and I'm almost to a point now where I can be alone with my thoughts. And
Oh,
that's a huge jump.
huge, massive, massive, massive. Like that, to
Like
get to that isn't easy.
just be a yeah, just learn to be alone with yourself. That's whew,
Hmm.
we don't
Yeah.
do that anymore in our world.
Did it even ever happen?
Did it happen before? Maybe not. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Because if you're not producing, right, then you need to be
Yeah.
consuming. But what if
Yeah.
there was another level beyond that?
Hmm. Yeah.
The happy period where you've already eaten, but you're not hungry again, and you can do
Hmm.
different things besides produce and consume.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
cool idea.
Totally. I love that. And what is your kind of, how would I say, place where you're with your thoughts? Do you do it in nature? Is it something that you do first thing in the morning? Or how do you find that space?
When I started off, the only place that I really found that I was consistently able to just get my mind and my body quiet at the same time was in the bath.
Hmm.
Was in the bath. I noticed that the more that I am becoming comfortable with that, the more healed my nervous system is becoming, and I'm not needing
Hmm.
all that extra stress, that
Hmm.
it's happening more often. I'm becoming more able to, like when my daughter wants to go to the park, instead of bringing a book or something to keep busy and do, right? It's masculine
Yeah.
doing again. I'm noticing that
Hmm.
I'm just going and I'm just hanging out at the park. I'm not on my phone,
Hmm.
and I'm not reading, and I'm not planning, and I'm not making lists.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You're
it's
just being with
becoming
nature.
easier. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
becoming a lot easier to
Hmm.
just be, and not have to think so much about what I should be doing. Because what I
Yeah.
should be doing is what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I love
You're
that.
always doing what you should be doing.
Yeah. Amazing. Being a beer. That would be a good
Be
title
a
for a book.
beer.
Be a
Yeah.
beer.
Being's being is the new hard work.
It is. I
It
was
is.
listening I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking exactly about that, and it was just about, we're not bored anymore. The new thing is finding bored moments. When I say bored moments, I mean things that you aren't doing anything and you're just being by yourself with your thoughts without, thinking and being in the masculine energy. Boredom, some people call it, but it's actually more
what
beneficial than anything else.
what that quote that says, what is it that the the unconscious person can't tell the difference between peace and boredom, or they mistake peace for boredom. There's a quote, and I think it's so true, because peace is like just being
Hmm.
present and being neutral and not having an emotion, like, or a
Yeah.
need pushing
Hmm.
you, right, guiding you.
Yes. And boredom has that like uneasiness
Yeah.
twang.
I need an emotion to tell me what to do. I need a thought. I need something to steer me. But those outside
Hmm.
things, they never really point you where you want to go. They point you where
Yeah.
they want you to go, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Like the ads
Totally.
on
It's
your
kind of
phone,
like,
they totally,
yes.
the
It's
ads
like,
on your phone totally point you where they want you to go. Like,
yeah, totally. And it's like being controlled. It's like that kind of thing of the world controlling us or allowing it to control us without us even realizing that we're being controlled by different little things popping up
yeah,
in our world.
that's right. Because when we can come into that feeling of peace, of boredom, which is almost like the other side of the coin there, right? Like we can
Yeah.
then become aware of our own capabilities and our own power. We have so much power that is unclaimed, I think, as women. And as human beings, we have a lot more power, I believe, than what our culture, what the collective around us is aware of. We are not
Totally.
passive consumers of the world. We're active consumers, and we can
Mhm.
choose what we see around us.
Yeah. Yes. How are you feeling about the elections? Or should we talk about that?
Ooh. Oh, I am so neutral about this. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Um, it okay, it was gonna be interesting no matter what, right? Like either the first female president who's black, who's also like this DA persecutor, like,
Mhm.
or you've got like this felon womanizer who's like totally off in his right field doing his own thing, kind of hoarse and oblivious, but can't be bought. Like, oh, so interesting. I have no idea what is going to happen. I feel
Mhm.
like, as a whole, though, the
Mhm.
the feeling that I'm getting from the people around me is that we are all aware that we are tired of having other people make our decisions for us, and that we are
Yes.
ready to begin to take that
Mhm.
power back, to reclaim it.
Mhm.
That's such a beautiful place to be. We get to
Yeah,
watch the
totally.
people around us take their power
Yeah.
back.
Yes. I feel like that in Spain as well. People are just ready to just I wouldn't be surprised if the whole country protests against what happened regarding the floods and the response because people want their power back, you know.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
power. And
And it's
it's,
empowering though.
yeah, well, and this idea that like we don't have power is an illusion, right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's totally an illusion, because could the people have, when it came down to it, they used the power that they had to come help each other.
Hmm.
They didn't
Yeah.
need somebody else to give them the power. They had the power
Yeah.
all along
Hmm.
to come
Yeah.
together and assist and build and create. And they didn't need
Hmm.
somebody else to tell them how to do it. They just did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that has little rippling effects and it changes the paths of people's lives. That
Yeah.
little volunteering act can completely change the timeline of how people live their lives from then on after because it's like planting a seed and maybe I like this. So my life's probably going to go down that road now. And they'll just rely on their own personal power and live their own path. And it's just like a rippling effect.
Oh my gosh, I'm just getting goosebumps because I'm thinking, like, remember that time? Can you remember a time in your life when you felt so fucking powerful? How powerful did those people in that community feel when they came
Yeah.
together and they were doing those incredible things for the other humans, all on their own,
Hmm.
just because they decided that they were going to do it. And all of a sudden, they had the power to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is goosebumpy.
I am all covered with goosebumps now.
What about the
Uh,
community in your new area? Have you explored the community in your new area?
mm, this community is A lot different. Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up here
Yeah.
actually, and I had a lot of anxiety about coming back
Mm-hmm.
because the culture here is um, a lot more in that masculine era, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
of the value of people is in their doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's 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 harsher, right? It's the wild wild west, and
Yeah.
there's still a lot of wild west attitudes out here,
Yeah.
and the soft feminine is really
Mm-hmm.
alien.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I notice
Yeah.
when I go places, I'm like, ah, wow, I am so out of water. I am in a different pond.
Yeah.
They don't have fish that look like me in this pond yet. So it's yeah, it's really been revolutionary, and it's been immensely triggering too because I
Yeah.
have a fear of being seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like this
Mm-hmm.
deep-seated genetic fear in
Mm-hmm.
us, right? In women and people who are different to blend in.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I try and release myself, right, and tell myself I am safe, right? Nobody's going to come to my house and
Mm-hmm.
pull me outside and burn me. Nobody's going to come
Mm-hmm.
lock me up, or nobody's going to come give me a
Yeah.
lobotomy right
Mm-hmm.
now. Right? This is like a once in our history timeline when outlying women are safe, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still really scary to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so
Yeah.
scary to let them see
Mm.
me. And I'm still spending a lot of time at home in my house while being
Yeah.
seen.
Well, I admire your bravery and your courage. And I sense that you going out there is kind of spreading your lovely feminine energy and maybe awakening it in other people. And you might not even realize it.
I've been thinking that too. I'm like, okay, well, now my consciousness is here. It's still going to be
Yeah.
affecting the people around it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's women here who are going to be really interested in
Mm-hmm.
going on journeys, right? Who are going to be interested in connecting and hearing my stories and, being a part of
Totally.
this.
Yeah, that's
It's just so,
exciting.
oh, it's scary, right? Where are
It
they?
is a
Where are
bit
my
scary.
women?
They're out there. They're out there. They just haven't found themselves or you yet.
Okay, women, you who are listening, reach out to your other women locally because I think we really need each other right now to support.
Yeah.
It is so valid being able to hear
Mhm.
my stories come from the mouths of other women,
Yeah,
right? To be able to witness their
totally.
emotional journey as like a human being and to be able to
Hmm.
recognize like how
Hmm.
normal it is. I'm
Hmm.
a hard time being human.
Yeah. And totally. And for you or for what they're feeling to not have ever been expressed before and for them to hear it must be like quite resonating for them as well because some people don't really even know what it is they're feeling until they hear it out of somebody else's mouth and they're like, yes, that's me.
Wait a minute. Oh my gosh, you're exactly right. I just heard somebody describing anxiety the other night, and I never realized that I had spent so many years in this emotion that's called
Mhm.
anxiety. I was just completely unaware that I was anxious until just now, where I was
Mhm.
like, I used to feel like that all the time. Is that, oh my God, is that anxiety? Have I been anxious? I didn't know I was an anxious person.
Yeah. Because we didn't have the name for it like we weren't able to associate the word with how we were feeling. It
Yeah,
probably wasn't something that people spoke about. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. We used to talk about our feelings that much
it's
before.
so weird. Like when I
Yeah.
because I'm a hospice nurse. And so I talk about anxiety with my patients. Are you feeling
Okay.
anxious? But
Yeah.
I think talking about feelings
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about feelings is so much different from learning
Mm-hmm.
to feel our feelings.
Yes.
Right? When we were talking earlier about feeling hungry and we're like, wait a minute, what is that feeling? What,
Yeah.
what is that? Why is my stomach full of nails right now? Oh, that feeling, that's hunger. That feeling that you're feeling where you just want to crawl out of your skin, that's anxiety. It, learning to
Totally.
feel feelings. Wow, what a journey.
Yes, totally. How do you navigate anxiety, actually? Speaking about that, because I've
Ooh,
felt anxious over the last few days and I've been kind of doing an EFT tapping and, the
ooh.
usual grounding work. What do you do to help with your anxiety?
Okay, I love the tapping and I
Yeah.
love the grounding. Um,
Hmm.
I've been noticing when I start feeling anxious, I think it's
Hmm.
because I have a, an emotion that I need
Hmm.
to explore underneath it.
Hmm.
It's almost like I get anxious and I take a time out, and then all of a sudden, like I'm feeling something different. Like, oh, wow, I am feeling that abandonment wound from my mother. Like, oh, wow. But except it was triggered by my husband.
Yeah.
But it presented as anxiety, and the anxiety was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't until I was able to sit down and be like, okay, okay, body,
Mhm.
what do you have? What should we explore here? And then as those thoughts start coming up and I start grounding them in with love, then
Mhm.
I'm able to notice that a lot of times the anxiety is like the feeling coming from my body that I have an
Mhm.
emotion that I need to explore.
Mhm.
So there's another
Wow.
emotion behind it. So with your anxiety, I'm wondering, were you feeling any fear that led to it?
Yes. When I look back at the anxiety that I've had over the last few days, underneath it was probably a fear of, yes, just a fear for people's lives, I suppose, around what's happening in Valencia and just different possible situations that could happen in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like it's such an intense time. And
Yeah.
you probably pick up on collective feelings too, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
totally do. When like people
Mm-hmm.
around me are afraid, I definitely need to like, whoa, hold on. I gotta turn off the TVs. I gotta go ground. I gotta hold on.
I'm gonna go just put myself in a jar for a sec. Hold on a minute.
Just a minute. Yeah, I gotta clarify whatever it is that is happening here.
Yeah, totally.
You're feeling
Yes, I
other
pick up on
people's
people's.
fear. Fear is
Hmm.
so contagious.
Hmm.
I
So I
think that's
like
one of
that
the
way
star
that you said.
people. Oh, go ahead.
I like that the way you said how you navigate anxiety by asking your body what it is, and for it to acknowledge it, love it, and then figure out what it is. So it's
What
kind of
is
like
it?
you're talking to your body and your body's telling you what it is instead of just suppressing it like most people do in the world.
That's what we do, right? We should just try and think through it because you feel this fear, and then you're like, no, it's not as it's not appropriate for me to feel fear. I'm safe, right? You're
Yeah.
thinking the feelings instead of feeling
Hmm.
them. Like, oh my God, I'm afraid. I'm afraid for these people. And I think
Hmm.
I think my guides have been helping with that because when I'm having these dreams about these big floods, I notice that I'm not afraid.
Hmm.
I navigate it, right? Just like if you've ever been in an emergency, you make your way through it
Hmm.
and you come out to the other side. But the
Hmm.
fear is really is just like is this masculine up in the head, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, how can I control it? I want to do the right thing, as opposed to being down in your body and just being aware. Wait a minute. I am safe. The houses around me are safe. There's nothing I need to do right now. I don't need to do anything. I just need to be.
Hmm.
Comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it always comes back to our creation center.
You
Yes,
just gotta
totally.
be. You don't need to go do anything. If somebody
Hmm.
needs nourishment, if somebody comes to your front door and they're like, I lost everything and I really just need a blanket, you can nourish them with that, right? Here's your hot
Yeah,
meal. Here's your blanket. Okay, we can help. We can help this together.
yeah,
You can't go through
totally.
it for them.
Oh, amazing.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
that. I love that everything is bringing you back to your feminine creation, sacral chakra, and it's related. Everything that's going on in your life is bringing it back to that. I love that.
That's right. Back down to our identity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who we are in this big old world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Oh, it's been so lovely chatting to you.
Oh, Sarah, it was so wonderful to catch up. Your energy is it's like a cozy blanket.
And your energy is just absolutely uplifting. It really is. Do you have anything else you'd like to share that's on your mind?
I think that our bodies are our strongest compass for the things that we're supposed to be learning and doing in the world.
Hmm.
I think that when they have a message to give us and we don't hear it, that our body speaks louder and it turns up the volume. And it's supposed to help us because what is it that we're supposed to be doing that our
Hmm.
deepest, highest self needs to be accomplishing or learning or just experiencing? I think our bodies are
Hmm.
tools to help us
Hmm.
learn the things that we most need to learn.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. Hmm.
Yeah. So
It's
when
so
we,
true, though.
right, so when we listen, when we can take the message like, oh, my hands have been really sore. Well, think about this. What are you doing with your hands, right? Your hands are where you exert yourself on the outside world, right? It's the things that
Hmm.
you do. But what are you doing with your hands that you don't want to do?
Hmm.
What are your hands doing, right? They don't want to hold that pen anymore. What they want to do is maybe go rest. Maybe what they want to do
Hmm.
is nourish the people around them and not hand out poison to the little old ladies
Yeah,
in the nursing home anymore.
yeah.
uh, yeah, and the gut with the leaky boundaries. You have leaky
Hmm.
boundaries, your gut gets leaky, and
Hmm.
you eventually get a really strong message from your body, right? Hey, we need better boundaries. Hey, we need a better boundary. Or with the womb, when you store trauma and you have painful periods, you have irregular periods, you have this disinterest, right? Where you can't lubricate for sex because you're like, ah, I think
Hmm.
it's a message, right? You have things. It's a message. We got
Yeah,
to listen to that.
yeah, totally. And navigate our own wisdom and how to, I suppose, figure it out
Our
ourselves through
bodies are
our
so full of
creations.
wisdom.
Yeah. Hmm. Totally.
There's some maps that I think are really interesting for where different energies and emotions tend to store themselves in our physical bodies. I love
Hmm.
consulting them, and I've got to admit that almost all of the time, it seems like it's accurate,
Wow.
one way or another.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, so if you think about it, I would love to hear any examples if that resonates for you.
Well, yes. In terms of like when I felt before in a relationship that I couldn't really speak my truth, or I couldn't show myself who I really was, I used to get like really bad sore throats and awful coughs. That I was really hard to get rid of. And I think that was me just suppressing the ability to just speak what I wanted to say. That was like a
Yeah.
relationship that I had like a couple of years ago. I think that could have been the reason because my throat, that throat area was blocked.
Mhm.
So I kind of felt a bit suppressed in there. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too, right? Like if you don't feel safe to open
Hmm.
up a throat chakra, because a lot of times when we don't feel safe, we close it up because, right,
Hmm.
that's how we stay alive through the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
And even through the 60s, like that's how we stayed alive is by closing up and being safe. But if you think about safety, safety is a root chakra issue too.
Hmm.
So I wonder if you had anything going on with your root chakra, your legs, your hips. Do you have any problems pooping? Like, because those would all be things part of the root chakra system, right?
Hmm.
Grounding's in the root chakra, pulling up nourishment
Hmm.
from the earth.
Hmm.
I wonder if you
Yeah.
had any involvement with that, because that's really, They're tied, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, because your throat
Hmm.
can't be open if you're not safe.
Yes. Actually, now that you say it, yes, exactly. I went through a bit of a time of twisting my ankle. My ankle was weak for a while, for a long time actually, throughout my life. And I
Which
had
one?
every few years, it was my right one.
Uh-huh.
I'd have a habit of twisting my ankle. So yeah,
Okay.
that could have been connected to a kind of weak
It totally
sac
could have.
or yeah.
Yeah, if you think about like your feet, they're like what's driving you forward in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like the direction you're going, you're going to see it in your masculine foot and ankle,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
see problems that you're going to see warts. You might see some plantar fasciitis. You might see a tendency to turn your ankle because guess what? If you don't want to walk forward on that path you're on anymore, your body's
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, no, we're going to help you. Don't do that.
We're just gonna step in here.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Like it speaks louder. If you don't listen, like your body's got to turn up the volume. The left ankle
Yeah.
is how you feel about your path going forward, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
if you're in agreement, like if you're like, okay, this is where I'm going and I'm okay with it, but I feel guilty, then you might be in that habit of experiencing some more difficulty in your left foot, the feminine, because it
Mm-hmm.
receives. How do
Mm-hmm.
you feel about where you're going? And the direction you're going is in your right. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like, are you content with the direction you're going in your life right now?
Right now at the moment, yes, but looking back when my ankles kept twisting, I probably
Mhm.
wasn't on the right path. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I probably wasn't feeling that was my right path. Definitely
It's
not.
like your body
No.
like trying to reroute you. And it's like, hold
Yeah.
on, no.
Yeah, that's curious.
But yeah, so fun. I love talking and thinking about the energetic causes behind the
Mm-hmm.
messages that our body is giving us. What's our body telling us?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
brilliant. Like
Amazing.
headaches. I've been getting more headaches lately.
Yeah.
You ever get headaches?
I haven't really been getting headaches. I would get headaches if I need to release energy up there, or if I'm
Uh-huh.
feeling really stressed. Like you said, in your head, masculine energy, working loads, nonstop, and
Yeah.
I'm not giving myself a break. That's when the headaches come, and I
Yes.
know it's just I need to just like be.
Right? It's time to come back down and take the energy
Yeah.
down
Mm-hmm.
where it's supposed to
Totally.
be. Thank you, body, for helping me get that message.
Yes. We're so lucky with our bodies and all the wisdom it has. We really are. I'm so grateful.
I feel like a lot of star seeds fight their bodies and have a lot of trouble
Mm-hmm.
with it because
Mm-hmm.
our bodies are like they're like these third dimensional machines. It's a car that we're in and we're driving around on planet Earth, but
Mm-hmm.
it's designed to have certain features. And I think our body is like a GPS where it tells us where we're supposed to go if
Mm-hmm.
we know how to read its signals.
Yeah.
We just take the ibuprofen, right? If we take the paracetaminofen and we can just make our headache go away, then we didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get the message, did we?
No, exactly. You're just turning off the signal. You're turning
We're just
off
turning off
that
the
red
alarm,
light.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's like you got food in the oven and you need to take it out and move on to the next step, but you're just like, ah, dang, and you don't do anything. Just turn the
Yeah.
alarm off.
Oh, you're so right. It really is true. And have you had any other body signals recently?
I used to have painful periods. I used
Mm-hmm.
to have these heavy, painful periods, and every month, like I would need to take like wild lettuce tincture or catnip, and I need to lay on the couch, and I need to have the red clover tea to thin my blood out. And I was still like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh. And
Yeah.
I've I've spent enough time in my body now that I don't have painful periods anymore, and I haven't changed a whole lot
Mm-hmm.
physically. I don't think. I think a lot of the work that I've done is emotional.
Yeah. That is one of the biggest things that most women I know have are really bad periods.
Painful periods, right? Don't
So
like
this
being a
is really
woman.
useful.
Don't
Yeah.
like having this cycle where I'm tired for half of the fucking month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as women in a masculine culture, like we don't, I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us aren't really connected to our cycle very much, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not really receiving the wisdom that comes with it. I think there's so much wisdom in like, hey, you need to chill the fuck out for like 2 weeks. You need to just be mellow. Stop thinking
Yeah.
about things a while
Yeah.
and just be
Totally.
mellow.
Yeah, I love that idea, being in tune with our cycle and using our cycle to empower us more and kind of gel with it. Because if we're kind of aligned with our cycle and going with the flow, it's going to be less painful and less suffering.
You rest when you need to rest, and you
Hmm.
nourish yourself and you go slow. I'm I'm noticing that as I'm practicing being in tune with my cycle, it's a practice. It's not just like a thing that I decided to do and I'm perfect at it.
Yeah.
It's something I really have to like stay and connect with intentionally. I'm noticing that when I'm finished with my period and I'm coming into my ovulation, that my
Hmm.
ideas are like they're so fucking brilliant. Like I could do just about anything. I'm like, this is $1 million idea. And I feel wet and I feel juicy and I feel vibrant. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to somebody. That's only when I'm ovulating, right? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a great idea. My body's in full agreement. And then I can tell at this point when my fertile period is over because I'm like, this is not the time. This is not, no, I do not want to go to the grocery store. Mm-mm.
Come back next month.
I do not want to fold 6 loads of laundry. I could do it slowly, but I will do it on my time. Like, it's a huge shift from like
Yeah.
living every day like it's the same, right?
Yeah.
You go to work and you come home and you run a mile and then, but if your body is telling you like, I really would like to just be quiet, when you're quiet is when you get the messages. When you're
Hmm.
quiet is when you have the boredom, right? The peace, the insight,
Yes.
and you can
Yeah.
navigate yourself with so much
Hmm.
more clarity.
Hmm.
And
It's like that
also,
little space, that little space, and all the little messages are queuing up to come in, and they can only get in when you stop and
they
be
can,
in peace.
that's exactly right. They can only come in when you're quiet.
Yeah.
And when do we make space to be quiet? I think as women, that's probably why we have that really long luteal cycle. I think it's because it takes a while to process all that busyness
Hmm.
that we took in during our active cycles. We need time to process it. And then when our period comes, that's when the insights come in because we've
Hmm.
been slow and mellow and getting quiet and digesting all those emotions that were kind of stacked up and all those thoughts we had racing around. But when we
Hmm.
finally get quiet, I think that's in our period phase. And that's when those new ideas, those incredible insights can come bubbling up from inside of us.
Wow. That would be so amazing to include in your new women's group, your new feminine group of like gelling with her cycle, wouldn't
Love
it?
it. Yeah, it's so nourishing,
Yes.
right? And be like, I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it. I'm luteal. I'm on my
Yeah.
period. I'm not going to worry about emptying the dishwasher today. It'll be fine. And
Yeah.
usually it will. Like,
Yeah.
if there's
Somebody
something
else will do it.
yeah, if there's something I really don't want to do, like I'm getting to
Hmm.
a point where I'm just not making myself do it anymore. And I'm noticing like that wasn't such a big deal. Like,
Yeah. It's like a release, isn't it? It really is.
so what if I didn't cook today?
Yeah.
Oh well, like we've got food. There's food in the cupboards. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Leftovers in the fridge. I
That's so liberating. It really is.
think it's been a good example for my husband too,
Hmm.
because as I set this pace of, we don't need to be so stressed out all the time. For what?
Mm-hmm.
What are we in such a hurry to do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
grow old and die? Like, why can't we just be present? We
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be so stressed out. He's starting to
Mm-hmm.
relax and he's starting to tune in. And as his body is becoming replenished and his spirit is getting quieter and he's learning how to digest and how to ground himself, and he's also seeing that he needs time to filter out all those extra thoughts and emotions and energies that he's accumulated through his day or
Mm-hmm.
through his week. Um, and that awareness, I think, is really, really beautiful, because he also knows that if he stays in that quiet place, that bored place, that he
Mm-hmm.
will get to a point where not only is he refueled, right? He's full of energy and vibrancy and he's like, yeah, let's go do something. But at that point, he usually knows what direction he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he doesn't know. Tell me what direction to go. And he doesn't want to go in the direction somebody else tells him to go in. I don't think any of us do.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Isn't that why we don't do anything we're told to do? Like,
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, that's so insightful. You always have so many insightful, wonderful wisdom, Jen.
oh, Sarah, you're a beautiful mirror.
So thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope we can have these lovely healing chats again sometime soon. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, are you open to being contacted, or are you basking your feminine being?
Oh, I am actively trying. Excuse me, my words today are.
No, you're speaking beautifully and eloquently as always.
I am actively welcoming and receiving
Mm-hmm.
insight and community from other women. It does not need to be anybody that's here
Mm-hmm.
in the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to receive any insights or conversations. I mean, you can tell I really love talking about energy and bodies and
Yeah.
how to connect with them. And so I'm always looking for reasons to explore that more.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to launch a series of meditations focused on energy work in the body,
Mm-hmm.
specifically aimed towards women. For example, like a meditation on leaky gut, where they can get quiet and they can really focus on directing their energy towards their gut and exploring like the different emotions that they find in the rooms there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I need something to respond to in order to do my best work. So any
Mm-hmm.
invitations or thoughts are very welcome. Instagram is the best place to find me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm under House of Light Healing.
Yes, I'll put that in the show notes, of course. Yes.
Sarah,
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much, Jen. It's always such a wonderful pleasure.
You've lit up my day.
How amazing was that conversation? That healing chat. I hope you got as much as I did. It's just I literally leave being around Jen on an absolute high. She transmits such light, ethereal, fun, and uplifting energy. I highly recommend reaching out to her, especially if you're a woman and you want to connect with another like-minded lady and you want to explore that feminine aspect that might have been suppressed. Or maybe you're just looking to reach out to a gorgeous girl, just a beautiful soul that I without a doubt know will impact your life in some way or another. So, I am doing a competition. And the competition is, if you have the time and you're willing and want to, if you could kindly rate this podcast. And if you can give a comment or rate it, just give it whatever rating you think it deserves. I'm not going to try and tell you to put 5 stars if you don't think it's worth it. But if you can, that will help spread the word and just help other people who need some understanding of what they're going through. Maybe somebody out there really doesn't know how they're feeling, like what we were saying, and this could be a reassurance or an acknowledgement or an eye-opener to people out there who are kind of needing a voice that they don't know that they had, if that makes any sense. So if you could kindly rate the podcast either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you listen, send me a picture and I will happily offer you an energy healing modality of your choice. All you have to do is send a picture of the rating to my email address. You can see it in the show notes. And then I will offer you a free energy healing, a card reading, or whatever one of my services that you might find yourself interested in. Or it can be anything like a chat or whatever. We can set that up. Another thing I wanted to say was, yes, if you want to get in contact with Jen, definitely reach out. She's just reach out. If you feel inclined to reach out to her and let it go naturally in the direction it's supposed to go. But she is such a wise, empowering soul and so humble. She's just the most humble person you'll ever come across, and just always sees the brightness and the goodness and the best of every situation. So non-judgmental. So yes, I'm excited for any of you who are inclined or feel the urge or the willingness to reach out to her. Go ahead and do it. And thank you so much for your open ears. As always, I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart to the top of my head and the tips of my toes. Thank you so much, and take care.